I would like us, if you can start with a 1-minute presentation about yourself, so the floor can understand your experience and what you are doing. Anton?
Yes. My name is Anton Balchen. I'm an associate from U+A Architects, acting as lead consultants across the region. I've been here for 10 years and seen a lot of change. I think we've all seen significant change in the world around us in the last 2 years. So I'm excited to be here to join this panel discussion and bring some of the qualities that we've certainly capitalized on in the last few years to this discussion.
Thank you. My name is WAJDI MEREB. I am the senior BIM manager in Miral. I had been working in BIM for 15, 16 years, starting with CCC, going to Dubai RTA, then now I am with Miral. Last year I got the award from the AEC Excellence Award, the Innovator of the Year. And I am heavily involved with BIM and digital engineering implementation and mega projects.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, my name is SAMI ELMADALLA. I'm the Chief Development Officer for First Invest Group. We are in property development. I'm here in the region for more than 25 years now. And my experience goes from prefabrication to property development and construction. I'm as well excited to be here today and try to understand how the pandemic has had an effect on all of us and if we have some answers for it.
My name is CORNELIA KIEFERLE. I'm actually not the co-founder. It started 1958 by my father, so okay. I wasn't
managing director
yet. So I'm partner in KIEFERLE & Partner, which is a privately owned firm out of Germany. We are architects and interior designers and are in the region since the early 80s. I'm personally in the region since 83, primarily Saudi Arabia and then Dubai. So I'm following up on the changes over, well, a couple of decades, and I'm following up with quite great excitement what's happening now in the last couple of years, especially in Saudi Arabia.
Thanks.
My name is IHAB RAMLAWI. I am the Managing Director and Co-founder for DuPod Industries. DuPod is a modular solution company that falls under the vertical of modular solutions within Amana Group. We have set up this company 2 years back, but we have been in the group, in the industry for the past 12 years. I myself have been in the industry, in the AEC industry for the past 25 years. Most of it was in the construction side. This is the most interesting part, which is the off-site manufacturing, because every day there is a new thing to learn. And I'm very happy to be here because we take it as a responsibility in the group itself to educate the market about the benefits of modular construction. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I would like to start with Cornelia, and after a round to all of you, asking what is your point of view about in your sector about after the post-pandemic. I would like to consider, I hope, in a post-pandemic situation moment. What is from an architectural developer, contractor, and BIM expert, what is your point of view about the situation where we are at the moment?
I think what's one of the points that we learned throughout the pandemic is there's a certain shift of how we use spaces. This starts in our private homes, so people started to look into the private home being more of a live and work space, being forced to do so. There's a greater wish to move, especially in Europe or also all over the world, to move out of cities back to single family homes, which has changed the industry quite dramatic, while previously everybody wanted to live in cities and in apartments. And it has also changed, I think, the approach we take into offices. Not that an office as a space changes drastically, but companies, especially bigger firms, are going to start into looking how much space do I really need? How is my team working? And isn't there a big part that the team can do from home and across the world, which was actually discussed already this morning. And we learned to deal with this in a very, very fast time. And then third, we work a lot in hospitality and mixed use, and I think the hospitality sector is equally going to rethink use of space in general, especially as we might travel differently. We might travel longer, we might travel less for business. So I think hotels will probably get a more of a multifunctional use. Although we said this morning that we have the business hotel, I think this will turn into more of a flexible use, which will apply to many spaces we use today as single use.
Yeah, thanks. Anton, still from an architectural point of view?
I think certainly one thing we've all had in the last year and a half, 2 years, is our own personal experiences of this pandemic and the shifting values in our lives. Certainly, the importance of being with family, mental health, the connections that we see to nature, these are our core values that for many of us have shifted. And it's our responsibility, together as designers, developers, clients, engineers, solutions providers, to adapt to this. It's an evolving society that we've seen a big shift in the past 2 years. And now it's time to implement it, find the solutions in terms of architecture and space making. But of course, how do we build in this environment? How do we bring the technologies together? How do we bring modular constructions, drones, automation? These are concepts that were here before the pandemic hit. But what we've seen in the past 2 years is an acceleration of these technologies and an importance of implementing them in our daily lives. And for me, definitely that's a big impact that I've seen in the last 2 years, and it's creating an exciting time ahead for all of us.
WAJDI?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I believe this question has been raised from the beginning of the pandemic because, honestly speaking, from my experience, in the last 2 years, we experienced to have acceleration in the digital engineering implementation and BIM. In comparison to the usual rhythm, it is what has been done in the last couple of years is equal to 10 years previously. Right now, everybody can accept the idea that we talked about for a long period, the idea of work from home. We had been enforced to work from home, and we had a very good results at the end because many of the projects had been delivered on time and a lot of concepts had been done, although we had the pandemic effect. From the point of view for the digital engineering solutions and the use for the new approaches, we experienced that the acceptance from the decision makers had been enhanced and accelerated also for using these systems. Right now, everybody is talking about digital, everybody is accepting to transform toward the digitalization. So I can say that the change step that was requiring years can be done right now or done right now in months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Sami?
Yeah, as a property developer, I do understand that changes are going to happen in terms of spaces, in terms of technology. As an investor, because mainly we are investors, we find opportunity to invest, we have very set parameters and a business model that usually help us in understanding much ahead what to expect. Now, in a pandemic situation, the unknown, it's something that we need to study very well before going into investing in project. But this will lead us to a major risk, which is the stagnation of our resources, which will make our currency devaluated. So it's important really to understand the market behaviors after this pandemic and act accordingly. What I have witnessed in the pandemic situation, it's a lot of panic from this economy. And panic has never brought any good because decisions usually are instinctive. We made sure, at least in my company, we made sure that we use our experience and optimism that the market is going to come back. So we have changed our business model accordingly to make sure that we can survive the period yet without jeopardizing the bottom line of the company.
IHAB?
Well, COVID brought an awakening era for all of us, and it is unforeseen, but I guess most of us were taking things for granted. Everyone was scaling up, every company in every nature. I think it brought a change in the way we think, the way we plan, and definitely the way we build. Now, one of the options that came is modular construction and modular solutions, and that have risen up as a tangible solution. And the reason for this is modular construction is about shifting activities from site to an off-site manufacturing facility, processed in a very, very controlled environment. Now with that, you bring a higher level of efficiency, higher quality, and definitely less dependence on manpower. And manpower today is becoming part of the agenda for most of the governments around us worldwide and even in the region we live in, because we need gradually to reduce the dependence on manpower and use automation in our processes, increase our efficiencies. Now, the technology that has came to the market recently and specifically in the construction industry, and being in the construction for a long, long time, we have noticed a lot of complication in implementing these technologies in open site environment, because open sites are very, very hard to control in nature. Now, when you bring these technologies in a controlled manufacturing environment, you're able to efficiently control it, adapt it, and integrate it into your system. And that's actually what we are doing today. We are not only implementing BIM as an engineering solution, we are integrating BIM as in engineering with ERP and IoT to streamline the whole process and use technology to the maximum benefits and eventually increase our efficiency in the market. So with that, I would say COVID was one way or another a drive for us to move faster in terms of investing in technology. And we were one of the industries that have not stopped a single day, because we were able to control all our resources in a manufacturing setup.
Thanks a lot. Going from the early stage of the development, SAMI, is this pandemic had changed the criteria of evaluation when you try to think how to invest in a project?
Well, for sure, some changes are there. As property developer, we have a very set and straightforward business model, which we love. We build and we sell. That's how it should be. Now, the pandemic has changed some of these dynamics. Therefore, we have to include another indicator in our business model, which we call the opportunity value indicator. I mean, we understand that the pandemic was a hit for everyone, but there is always an opportunity if you're ready to look into it. And for us, as property developer, the opportunity was to sit down with all our contractor, consultants, suppliers, and find out a way to work all together in a new scenario whereby everyone has, a return. For us, it's a renegotiation with better terms. For them, it is to keep going on a project without stopping it. So that new indicator, at the end of the day, it's gonna give us a return that was not budgeted for from the very beginning. Now, risk management becomes a very important factor for us because of the unknown situation. We understand that, let's assume for the properties, the selling prices is going to decrease. So the selling time, it's going to prolong. So what we do, we try to make provisions for all those factors that had been budgeted before the pandemic, but they have changed. So we make a provision and we make sure that we compensate that provision with the opportunity value indicators that we have applied earlier in our project.
Thanks for that. Still with you, Sami. Sorry if I insist, but it's give it the base for the future, for the next discussion. From a development point of view, we spoke about smart technology, BIM, modular construction. Are these considered an added value for a development?
Well, smart technology, as you said, it's not new. I mean, it's few years now that we have smart technologies. For an investor, it is not the technology itself, it's the receptiveness of the market itself, how they do react on the new technology, on the smart technology. As an investor, time factor is very important for the turnover of my capital. So a few years back, it's going to take probably some time for the market to understand the smart technology. Now we are very curious to see, as he said, that the smart technology probably is going to be accepted a little bit better. So for us, it's a good thing. We can invest in smart technology while we build our properties, for sure.
Modular construction?
Pardon me?
Modular construction?
Modular construction, I always believe that off-site production is the future for the construction. There is no way that we can avoid that, but for several reasons: sustainability, environment, cost control, quality of the product, health and safety. There are a lot of plus factors related to modular construction, off-site production. All the industry is going there. But as I said earlier, it's how fast the market will welcome that. It's still to be seen. Now, again, the pandemic might have helped that. But in a construction, I would just add one thing. Mr. WAJDI has a pod manufacturing. Now, pods, it's definitely part of the construction design because it proved its effectiveness and it proved that is a valuable product for any contractor and property development related to time, related to cost. You know, you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff that you usually used to worry when it comes to the wet areas of a project. So no, I welcome the off-site production heavily, and that's the next investment. If I need to reinvest something from my money, I will invest in an off-site production for sure. That's how it is.
Thanks for that. I would like to have an opinion for you, consultant and contractor. If usually, as early this smart technology and modular construction, in this case, come in the project, is a benefit for the project itself. Is it well understood from the developer, from your point of view? Are you find difficulties to introduce or to suggest this in the project life cycle, or is well understood from the early stage from the different developer you are working with? Cornelia?
I think it is understood to a certain extent. What I mean by that, the off-site production off-site assembly hasn't yet gotten the pace that it actually deserves. So we see the willingness, as you said, for the bathroom pods. That is fine. Everybody knows it since quite some time. But then when it comes to, like, we have a project where we use modular MEP racks. That means all the MEP is produced off-site and stacked together on-site. We do the same for the vertical risers. It's a big project. And that client is open to it because aside of the supply chain, which is a problem now, and there we have the issue of simply logistics around the site. So the willingness of a developer, I think his first aim, and don't be offended, is, as you said, to make money. So the way for us, we have to find out what is the way for him to make that money, to get the project fast done, to get it done in a good quality. And that's where the perception is big. So once you can bring all these factors in, the developer or owners, they are open to these ideas. However, it has to be really from the onset of the project. I mean, you have to start that at a very early stage, and definitely BIM has helped a lot. I mean, BIM has helped to visualize what's actually going to be built off-site. And I think this is a technology that revolutionized our business. On the other hand, what BIM does not replace is experience. So whatever you do, whether you design it now in off-site production or on-site, is that the experience that you still need while using BIM, which is a technical tool. It doesn't have the knowledge.
Yeah. Anton, still from architect point of view?
Certainly as a lead consultant and as an architect, one of the core values we have is adaptability. We are creative, we change, we develop for people, the environment, and each one of these changes. Technology is another component of this story. And you know, we, as U+A, we developed a 3D printed house with Imar and their digital partner. And this is a technology that we would like to see implemented more and more in the region and globally. As you mentioned, critically, it has to be considered up front. And these technologies is a fundamental component of how we deliver the design and how we construct. It's not an add-on. It is the core values. Like when we use BIM, it becomes a core value of how do you deliver the building. And it needs to be considered, as I say, up front. So we are ready as architects, you know, as designers, as consultants, we are ready for this. But to touch on a few challenges, of course, it's different, and that has a risk associated with it when you do something different in a market. It also takes more time the first time you do it, like most innovative ideas. And having a project and a client, like we had with Imar, to support us in developing a 3D concept that could be printed with minimal interaction took longer than a typical concept, longer than a typical schematic design. But in the end, you create a model that can be replicated. And it's looking at the holistic vision, holistic picture of how can we save money in the long run on the building, on the project, not necessarily each individual day of the project or each individual stage of design. Certainly this is something we need to see a slight adaptation in the model.
WAJDI?
Yeah, additional to what mentioned, I believe from a client or an owner point of view, the most important thing is to have a flexible process for your project implementation or your project actions. So the digital solution and the technology available is helping us to be aware about the final output that we are going to get, and also whatever is going to be missed between the different stages from the information related to the assets that will be delivered from the projects had been disappeared. So right now you have a seamless integration between different stages, and the information can be accurately, let's say, reflected from the stage to the other. So for a client point of view, this is very important because the client is the responsible for the full life cycle. He's paying for design, he's paying for construction, he should be in the handing over, he is going to do the operation and maintenance. So imagine that this full life cycle is covered with the needed accurate information, which is helping to have the real information, the real analysis about the performance of the assets at any point of time. And also, it is very important for the decision making, either to take this scenario or that scenario, either to accept this design or that design, either to go ahead with this change or that change. Shall we add to this building, for example, or to build a new building? Shall we continue in this type of business? All these analyses that is supportive for decision making are now built on accurate information and reliable information.
But personally, in other parts of the world, BIM is understood as an added value for the project. In this part of the world, the Middle East, sometimes I believe there is still not a perception is an added value. Sometimes it's provided because they need to provide by law for certain development. Do you find easy or not to pass the message to who has to pay you, so to the developer, the benefit on BIM involved in the project?
Yeah, actually, BIM is claiming that it is better for three major things: the cost, the time, the quality. From a cost point of view, I will pick up a small sample. If there is a clash going to happen on site, this means extra cost and extra time. If we solve it virtually before going to the realistic site of the project, then we will save the time and we will save the cost of this variation. And from the point of view of quality, all of us know that the way that the delivery of information related to the assets from one side or from one phase to the other is, let's say, the less important item that the construction team is taking care of. Usually we are happy to deliver on time the physical asset, not the digital part or the information or the documentation of that asset. So all the time we are finding a drop happens for the next, from the current team, let's say, to the next team. So when you have the BIM implemented, BIM is a process. At the end of the day, you need this process to take its time, to be matured enough from two basics. The one is the proper selection for the platforms and the processes that will be implementing this process. And the second, which is very important also, is the human resources. If you have your team accepting this step change, if your team is responsible enough and supported with the needed training and learning, you will absolutely achieve the success that you are seeking. So this process started maybe 15 years ago, and slowly we start seeing people are accepting and getting involved with it. Until, let's say, 2018, 2019, there is a huge trend towards the use of BIM. And during the pandemic, the numbers are fantastic. How much more clients, more contractors, more consultants changed their business model to use the BIM during their process, because there is too many cases where the cost, where BIM showed cost reduction, time reduction, and better quality.
Thanks a lot. We have, are you find difficult or not convince the client on the benefit of the pre-construction or modular construction that you are providing? Are they understanding the benefit?
It is always difficult, definitely. Yet I heard today from a developer that modular construction is a feasible option, and that's music to my ears. Now,
because he's a smart guy. I know he's here because he's a smart guy, not only a friend, but a smart guy.
Now, basically the need is established. One way or another, the need is established. And the governments actually are pushing and supporting this drive to adapt modular construction. What is actually holding it back is that the awareness of all the stakeholders in this industry to work together to make it happen. In terms of technology, in terms of modular construction, we need to work from top, from the government down, to acknowledge the importance of this. And there is one important factor over here, and that is the shortage of expertise. This industry is growing worldwide. Technology is growing worldwide. Today, if I'm looking for BIM specialists, BIM manager, BIM modelers, they are rare in the market because this industry is still new. And suddenly there is an awakening in the market and everyone wants to go into technology, into BIM. The same thing applies to modular construction. The whole industry is new. And this is a shift that goes from a construction industry completely to a manufacturing industry. And you are hiring now from construction, from architecture industries, and from manufacturing. And you have to bridge all the expertise all together and place them to drive the best efficiency, because the way we think is completely different in this industry. Now, going to the developer and selling value, it is much easier now. Like said from my colleagues over here, in the group, we have different verticals for modular. We have DuBox that caters for a full building. In DuBox, we're finding it complicated to sell it to the developer because here the architect has finished his job already and the building has been designed, and then you go and propose to set up the whole building using modular construction. You were not involved in the early stage of the project. You have not assisted in the design from the initial stage. Accordingly, the building needs to be redesigned from scratch, and that brings the time factor, the cost factor, many, many elements to the equation. And we have the pods, which is actually supplying products, bathrooms, kitchens, mainly catering for the wet areas. Now, the wet areas in the construction itself is about 5 to 10% of the whole construction cost. Yet, the whole problematic issues falls in the wet areas. It is so congested. 8 disciplines usually work in bathrooms. Most of the delays in the projects happens in the bathrooms, and projects are mainly delayed because of the snags and the punch list in the bathroom areas. So developers, consultants today are favoring to go for pods, because pods bring in the quality factor, consistency, and faster delivery for the project. And definitely this is a most important agenda today. When working in an environment that is highly competitive, you need to bring in efficiency to the equation. And I believe selling it has become much and much easier. We are being called today from developers, large developers, and they are actually asking about how much you can take capacity in your factory, how much you can expand, because we want modular. So the things have changed, but I think the only thing is missing in the equation today is the regulations in terms of off-site manufacturing is still missing. There is no code that covers off-site manufacturing in our region. And that brings a lot of complications in terms of contractual matters. And I hope that we speed up that process as soon as possible, because that will only drive this industry forward.
To come earlier in the stage of the project, do you think should be a combination of regulation, more knowledge in the market, more project completed as modular construction, so other developer will get more familiar with project completed where there was a benefit? What do you think for you can help the developer to involve you early stage? Because as you said before, the architect, often you are called when the architect already made the design, so you are not involved from the early stage. What can help a modular contractor to come early in the stage? Regulation, experience, project completed in the market, what can help you?
What we do actually is we integrate from the initial stage. From inception, from the idea itself, we contact developers. We try to approach them to see how we can help, offer our expertise to sit with the consultants and see how we can optimize the design so they can strike the benefit of the project. It worked with us in a couple of projects. Some of the developers were reluctant. Some, they were actually very, very much accepting to the idea. We found a lot of acceptance from the architects and the engineering offices, and that was very much encouraging because today, as I said, when it comes to the products as wet areas, it's very much problematic. And when you standardize this design, that brings an element of creativity in the whole project. There's no complication. It could bring also efficiency in terms of design and in terms of the project value itself. Because instead of scattering the whole wet areas in a plan, now you can plan where are you having your MAP drainage and where is it passing by. There are clashes. You can use technology where you can use BIM and collaborate between the developer, consultant, and the contractor himself. And we have done projects actually in the UAE where we have used BIM 360. We were all working in an open environment, and all the stakeholders were able to track all the changes, and that has speeded up all the approval process during the project. So I believe, in a nutshell, early engagement is key, and we are trying as much as possible to educate the market that it is key. We're also working with the government entities to educate them to the benefits of modular construction. And I think we are on the right path. A lot of success has been done throughout the years. And today there is a shortage of modular solutions in our region. And there is a demand for modular solutions in our region. And I believe that that is a sign that we are actually on the right path.
Thanks. WAJDI, you stimulate my curiosity because you spoke about the fourth industrial revolution. Yeah. You said this moment for you is the fourth industrial revolution. I was not even aware about the third one, to be honest with you. But what do you mean? Just to go a little bit more in technical, what do you mean fourth industrial revolution, this moment where we are at the moment?
Actually, let's take it from the base. Construction industry is, let's say, the lowest, or maybe one of the lowest quality of the industries. So in order to enhance this quality, in order to start seeing projects delivered on time, without changes, without much changes, because if we look to any project, starting from it is first idea, in the ideation stage or in the concept stage, and look to the final output, you will find a lot of changes happening. And if you look at the number of entities involved for this product to be created, like any type of buildings or any infrastructure project, you will find that a huge people or a huge entities, a huge number of entities are involved together. So accordingly, you need a platform, you need a collaboration environment that all those entities working together, hand by hand, collaborate with each other in order to be sure that whatever is going to be delivered is attending the requirements of the next stage. For example, if my design for this room is not taking the consideration of the maintenance requirements, which will in some time happens after the handing over of with 5 years, then you will see that this door will be broken. But if I consider the requirements of the maintenance team from the design stage, that door, for example, will be 3 meters high, not 2 meters, because of the replacement of any of the equipments inside this room. So according to that, we can see that in the market, people are more going towards the fourth industrial trends and the more utilization of the IoT and the sensors in order to tackle the information about the asset performance. So we have the BIM from one hand, we have the IoT implementation from the other hand, and if we add the artificial intelligence to that, to those two, so we will end up with what we call the digital twin, which is basically supporting the decision makers with realistic information and accurate information, so they can take the proper decision to ensure that what we put at the concept stage is delivered at the handing over stage of our project. This is number one. Number two, which is very important, because we are in very accelerated moment. Every time we need to change, every time new idea is emerged. So the availability of these technologies will help us to have the exact information about where my project now, how much time I am still have to finish this construction. Am I with the baseline or I am late from the baseline? To get the right information in the right moment, you will get the right decision at the end of the day. If you have the drones used, if you have the prefabricated elements done on site, you will enhance the quality of your project and you will end up with on-time delivery for the project. And that, of course, will reduce the amount of wastage, will reduce the cost by all means, and the program will be achieved.
Thanks a lot. Sami, you were involved before, as you said, in the previous professional life in prefabrication, and now you are from development. Have you seen much changes from that time to this moment, the market approach and the construction? Because you were sitting in both sides.
Well, when I was in his shoes, it was a tough time for me because it was a totally new product. Pods are not new in the market, are 30, 35 years old in Europe, so there are huge companies, Baden-Cabiner and you name it. But here in the region, it was fairly new. I'm talking 2008, 2009, so it was fairly new. My experience was pretty much try to educate the market to a product whereby nobody, because you go and you say it's a plug and play, and they say, I have invested 800 million in this project and you come and you want to play with me. I mean, that was the level of discussion in the very beginning. It took me some time to let them understand what we are talking about. And what I did, I do remember buying a 3.5-ton truck, building 2 fully functional pods, put them on top of it, going to my meeting, doing my presentation, and then, going down with the client to show him what it is. And all the time, when they see the product, it seems that they didn't understand anything about what I was saying up in their offices. They say, oh, this is it. We didn't understand that. I mean, that, having said that, with no doubt, it's the right product for the market. With no doubt, it's the future when it comes to modular construction and prefabrication. Now, what I see and what I have faced, and I believe it is still today, is the coordination between the manufacturer of pods and the contractor. Now, when you are off-site, you have a program. So you know that you're going to produce 10 bathrooms a day, 20 bathrooms a day. And that's where your cabins are ready. And you start sending them on site. And if the contractor has not done their job, now your pods will sit there. That's one of the problems I had in one of my projects. So, and the critical situation for us as manufacturers was that I have to keep those cabins in my factory, so blocking my production line because I cannot, have enough space, to keep producing. So there are, downturns. So coordination is very important, to close the cycle of all benefits related to this product. But again, I mean, it's not the pod manufacturer that should, optimize. It's the contractor and all other consultants working with the contractor to make it happen. As a developer today, I mean, our project, I mean, we are building a 4,000 units, and we have decided from day one, we're going to have pods. So when you decide from day one, it's easier to design. Mm-hmm. First of all, you need to understand what type of project you're bringing to market. It is not a fancy project, no odd shapes, so it's straightforward. The positioning of the project is affordable. So you have a lot of elements you can discuss with the architect, you can discuss with the pod manufacturers, and you can come up with the best product possible. So it is important that the decision-taking process for modular construction comes at really early stage, especially from the developer, from who's investing. Because if we have decided, you know, to go ahead with a traditional building, right? In the middle of it, I'm not going to change. Yes. Even though the benefits are evident, but I'm not going to change it. So it becomes difficult for pod manufacturers to convince me to go otherwise. So any investor, any property developer should be able to make that decision at a very, very early stage. Correct. Now, for the BIM, I totally understand the benefits of your software. How about flexibility? I mean, your concept, it's perfect in a mature market. Yeah. Mature market where decision-taking process is straightforward, no changes, no major changes. So you help achieve the objective. Now, we are working in a market where, as you said, a lot of changes happen in due course. Yeah. How flexible is your program? What is the cost associated in changes when it comes to your product? That's what is interesting.
One of the good things that because we have many changes, you will find, for example, 10 contractors, subcontractors, and consultants working together in one project. Basically, it is very important that all of them are referring to the same version of drawings or documentation about the project. BIM is not the software. BIM is the process that you are using in order to enhance the level of quality for your project. The collaboration that you just mentioned, or the coordination that you just mentioned. Before going to site, we are going to build according to a coordinated 3D model. Imagine that we are using a 3D model, so we can imagine our project prior of start building it on site. Usually we are using 2D drawings, and you imagine it something and I imagine it in another way. And you understand this line in this way, I understood it in the other way. But if I can see it in 3D, if I can have a walkthrough or a flyover in that project, which is easily can be done. I remember very well, guys, one of the executive directors in one of the mega projects told me frankly, usually we are taking 6 months coming, going for the design to be approved from a client point of view. It was taking him half an hour on one workshop where the designer sitting and showing him the 3D. And he was suggesting, where can I add this? Where can I add that? How can I do this? How can I do that? And in half an hour, that executive director took the decision and told them, go ahead, this is the design that I'm looking for. Because in 3D environment, you are the client, for example, and you are telling the BIM guys, I need you to show me 3 options, and I will decide one of them. If you feel them, if you live with them in the walkthrough or in the flyover or in the 3D model itself, you will select, this is the one that I need. Or you may say, okay, this is the one that I select, but immediately add this, add that, and you start taking the decision. So the BIM is helping you to take the proper decision in less amount of time. And of course, if you have this, you will end up with less wastage in material and resources during the construction because the decision had been done earlier. And any type of information that you need about your project can be collected at the design stage, because you can take these information and make the analysis process whatever the analysis that you have. For example, this design costing me $1 million, that design is costing me $1.5 million. If I have this, I will rent this place with this much money. but this option I will rent it with another amount of money. So it will help you to build the scenario. I am a client who is going to build 5-star hotel. No, I am the one who is willing to build a 3-star hotel because my business model is saying XYZ. So give me the options. Give me what can I do? How can I achieve? I have a budget of $500,000. Tell me what can I build with $500,000? I can tell you from BIM with a very quick process the exact amount of quantities that you will have in your project. For example, let's say a villa. You can get the number of cubic meters for the reinforced concrete. It is 12.5, not 15 or 10. The tile, you should go and order 210 meters square of tile, not 200 or 250. So, and I know that traditionally we can do these calculations easily, but imagine that we are talking about 4,000 villas. Imagine that we are talking about projects in multi-billions. Imagine that we have right now a very sophisticated designs in the projects that we are building right now. How you can build this? How you can calculate the energy, the energy consumption that you will use in your project in the next 25 years? Imagine that with one of the scenarios that I'm giving you during the design by just making some design solutions to remove or to add some openings, that you will save 1,000 dirhams every month from just the energy consumption. By 25 years, this means much. So all these can be supported by using the technology or the process of BIM. So the basic thing about BIM, guys, is giving the accurate information. After you get the accurate information, your limit is the sky. You can do whatever type of analysis that you need, and it can help you to do the proper decision better than the traditional way.
Thanks a lot, and you can continue later. And that's what I like, to generate interaction. That interaction here can be also an added value for the panel. Anton?
If I can just make one, I know time maybe taking
No, please. And also I have another question for Cornelia before a few questions from the floor.
One statement just to respond to your question about managing change. At U+A, we are a company that there is no optional BIM, there is no optional Revit. It's every project we deliver the same way. And in this market, we expect change and we incorporate that. And for us, using BIM technologies improves this. The initial response in one day might seem less, but within days to a week, using BIM, a change can be incorporated and coordinated without the errors and mistakes much, much quicker. So for us, we see it as a very helpful tool during change and change management. And it certainly allows our consultants and our wider teams to immediately see the changes that we're making and adapt their building, their twin of the building, quickly without the errors of, did you cloud the drawing, did you do this? You can do clash detection within seconds to see where the problems are. So for us, BIM as a technology is a fantastic tool to manage that change.
Cornelia, you want to add something on this before I go?
Actually, I share your opinion. Sorry, I have to I share your opinion, and we use BIM basically since it started. It helps coordinate, it helps show to clients, that is correct. It helps to show clients to visualize, because clients can visualize immediately what you want. Changing is faster in a way. I don't think it's faster, but it's more coordinated. So whatever you change gets coordinated right away. On the other hand, as I said earlier, we have to really smartly use it as a tool. It's not the magic wand.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to know how to use it to take the best out of it. And then it's also the benefit for the investor, ultimately.
Thanks a lot. Any question? Someone there.
We are glad to hear the point of views of developers, architects, and BIM experts. However, as manufacturers, I have a question here to you all. What level of BIM is interesting to you? Is it open BIM? To what advanced level you need? Number one. Number two, where are your teams seeking the BIM information? Is it from manufacturers' websites, or is it from platforms like Open Data or Open BIM? So is there a certain vehicle that you prefer to use so that you can get we can deliver the BIM information to you?
Yeah, thank you. I believe the designer should get the information, should provide the information for the manufacturer or the fabricator in a way that he can put his inputs during the design before going to the construction. Because you know, when the designer finished his task, the contractor saying, this is the design that I should build, otherwise it will be a variation order and you will go to the track that nobody likes. So the involvement, as we mentioned before, the involvement of the fabricator or the manufacturer should be from the early stage to ensure that the design that is going to be developed is applicable to be fabricated.
The other question? He raised two questions.
If I can just add to that same topic, one thing we face with developers and our clients is there's often two mindsets. One, I want you to specify and make sure everything is exact as a selection, which comes down to manufacturers and specific products. But more often, it's a performance specification. It's meeting a particular look, a particular performance, not exact products. And this is something I think we're going to see as a challenge going forward, is introducing technologies like pods, modular construction. It's more of a product that you're taking. It can be adapted, but it's specific to each manufacturer. And it's trying to bring those two positions together without it necessarily being a design and build concept, but to bring a manufacturer in or a supplier at the early stages, but keep that flexibility in the tendering to give the client competitive advantage at the end of the project is certainly something that challenging, but it's something we're adapting to within the market.
Well, no, I do agree with you. As a developer, we have our own way of looking at the opportunity. Because we are investors, we try first to work out ourselves with our consultant and our architect concepts to an extent where we do a lot of designs and a lot of options until we select the one that we believe it might work. And our selection, at the end of the day, it's based on the financial model that we are able to produce based on that. Now, the financial model doesn't give you a bill of material, but it gives you an idea of how much you are ready to spend for that type of materials. With our architects, we have an understanding about the general material list. It's never the final one. So I do agree with you that at the end of the day, you know, when I sit with my contractor, I will tell him, okay, you know, you see this, I would require something which looks alike and cost me less. This is the market, this is a reality. It is not something that it's unique to us. Now, we are builders of hotels as well. So we have 5-star hotel, and we understand the quality that has to go in it, the material that has to go in it. So for a property developer, it depends on the concept, on the positioning of that project, and on the market dynamic in that moment, or within the time that it is required to build that project. And for that, we have consultants that will give us all the information that we need in due course to make sure that we have always a direct understanding of the trend of the market. And if changes are needed, we need to be able to do those changes. Otherwise, We will end up with a product which we cannot sell, or we'll be having difficulties. So it is not a straightforward, answer. There is no straightforward answer. Sure. I mean, every one of us does their job very good. They have the best product. I do know that. When it comes to a project with a certain size of project, which is complicated by nature, it is important that every part, I mean, I appreciate my colleagues and my suppliers, my consultant, that they are really open-minded, even to changes, not because I want changes, but because it is required. It is required because we do it for a purpose. We don't do it just because of the project itself. I mean, so this is one of the challenges, definitely.
Definitely from the BIM perspective, the eye of BIM, which is often overlooked, is that information component. And what we're seeing is the true data that should be with the digital twin for the life of the building from manufacturers that are selected on site to match and within the budgets and affordable options. That information, once it's on site, then gets fed into the model. We have placeholder information as consultants that dictates the general quality, the materiality, the specification, but it has to be adaptable to that change. So when it's in the construction phase with the contractor, from a manufacturer-supplier perspective, that data is fed back in by the contractor to the highest level possible.
Thanks a lot. Last two questions. Hussam?
Thanks very much for the interesting discussion. I would actually start with a statement in a way. BIM is the future, for sure. And also, variation order in construction, it will cost much, much more in variation order during the design. We, as Zaha Hadid, we start 3D designing from maybe 40 years ago. The main reason was to explain to the client how we can make the building, how it's going to look like. We start really, maybe Zaha started to do by hand all of these perspective, and then now when we came into technology like Revit, or maybe before that Rhino, Maya, AutoCAD, it became possible where you do everything in a 3D, do rendering, explain to the client. With all respect, the majority of the client, they cannot really read 2D drawings. The more you need to visualize it to do it. That became the process more for convincing the client with options. And then became the issue, how we are going to do coordination with the design team, which is really painful process. And everyone want to really just do the best. Nobody want to do changes. Some of them also, they call it change order or maybe abortive work for us. So when BIM came, or I would say more Revit, as became available in the market, it helps a lot to coordinate and then do the clash detection, as we said. Like the project I present, OPPO, it wasn't possible if we are using BIM. How you are going to produce in 1 month 40 levels, all of them different, they have different functions, different model. It's not possible. So maybe the idea we should maybe discuss in the future, how we are going to procure our project differently. Because now we wait for the design team to finish construction document, and then after that we come as developers. We are surprised it's maybe not within the budget, and then we have to do value engineering. So how about maybe the question, how is it really a right time to stop designing at DD stage and then involve a couple of contractors where they can give the right information with the right price to the design team? They can really design shop drawing rather than construction document, which is gonna save time and money and give the client the right perspective. Is maybe this the right time to do that? This is my question.
Well, if I may answer to that, I do understand what you say. I mean that's
Sami short, because after that we have the reply, but we have a last question after we have to close.
Okay, I'll try to be concise as much as I can. We have the cost control that goes throughout the decision-taking process of any given project, which means that once we reach to DD, rarely I'm going to change or value engineer, because that's where the money will fly out. If I have, commissioned the designs from concept, schematic, design development, and then appoint my contractor and tell him to do the construction drawings. At that point in time, I should be already ready to go ahead and not change. So value engineering for me comes into the schematics. That's the max that I can allow that, because it is still cost effective for me to understand and to make some changes. But once I go ahead, I don't have that luxury. And who does that usually loses a lot of money and time and a lot of, so that's in a concise way.
Thanks a lot. Last question?
Yeah, it's actually I like how everyone is very passionate about what he presents. So no doubt that BIM is like one of the most important tools which happened till today in our industry. The modular solutions is, you guys need to know which building can cater for modular solution. Not every building. Try to go to Zaha Hadid doing modular. That will be a huge no way. Try to go, not every architect is a Bauhaus architect. So you need actually to choose which building you are tackling to help the client on what he is doing. Of course, coming in an early stage is a good thing. Also, having a conventional and modular at the same time, that's one of the most bad experience I've ever had in my life. So nothing right, nothing wrong. It's just we need to choose where we are going and what we are doing based on benefit analysis. I'm not going to say cost-benefit analysis. No, it's benefit analysis in all aspects. So actually, BIM can help in the modular. Modular can help a lot of clients, let's say, in doing hotel. But in a shopping mall, people will get suffocated because it will be like, very modular. So thank you very much for this. And I mean, we need to choose wisely what we are using, like what we are doing in any other aspect other than modular, other than BIM, which type of HVAC we are using, and all this thing has to be set from the beginning so that we can get the most benefit out of it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for everyone. It's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the debate and what is being created and the different point of view. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.